In this video, I will show you how to build reliable AI agents without writing a single line of code. I'll be sharing with you an exclusive Cursor Composer template which we use at our AI agency to significantly speed up the AI agent development process. Before I made this file, I tried using Cursor with my framework, and honestly the results I got were mediocre to say the least. But now, since this file contains everything you need to know about my framework, including all of the features, all of the key concepts, examples, best practices, and more, I literally stopped writing code for AI agents myself. I only chat with Cursor and it literally does all of the work for me. So even if you haven't ever coded before, by the end of this video, you'll be able to build your own reliable AI agent teams that will work together to tackle the most complex tasks out there. Let's dive in. Alright, so watch this. Literally all I'm gonna do is just send a single prompt to Composer like this. Please build an AI agency with the CEO and the marketing agent. The marketing agent can send emails with mailer send from updates@oiwidget.com, our SaaS email, and qualify leads using OpenAI's chat completions API. However, the problem is that obviously Cursor doesn't know how mailer send API works, and in fact it even gets the chat completions API wrong after the OpenAI's update. So just to give you an idea of how powerful this is, I'm gonna copy the mailer send documentation and then I'm gonna include it in a prompt like that. And then I'm gonna do the same with OpenAI docs. Awesome, now Cursor has everything it needs in order to create this agency. So let's hit submit and see what happens next. So now it read the mailer send documentation and also the OpenAI documentation. So then it proceeds with creating the first tool, which is the send email tool for the marketing agent. Then it creates the qualify lead tool with the latest chat completions API. Then it creates the marketing agent using the structure that we follow in my framework. Then it creates the instructions for the marketing agent, also following our standard template with the goals, role, the process workflow, and so on. Then it does the same for the CEO agent. And then finally, it creates the agency.py file where CEO can communicate with the marketing agent, and the agency manifesto, which is like the shared instructions between all agents in my framework. Amazing, right? So that's literally all from a single prompt. I haven't done anything yet and we're probably like 95% there. So let me now test all of these tools and then we can try this agency together. Okay, so the qualify lead tool works straight out of the box and says that the John Doe appears to be qualified for several reasons. No changes required. Amazing, the send email tool also works straight out of the box, no changes required. So it means that Cursor literally created this entire agency without any mistakes. So let's now run the agency.py file and actually test it live. So the agency.py file just had one small issue. It basically used the relative import. So literally all I done is just removed two dots from the import statements. And so let's open the Gradio interface just like this. And then I'm gonna send some dummy lead information with my email address and just tell it to process this lead. So as you can see, the agency is fully functional. CEO is now sending a message to the marketing agent with the lead information, and then the marketing agent executes the first function and then tells me that the lead is indeed qualified. Amazing. So now let me tell it to actually schedule a consulting call with this lead. So then let's check our inbox, and indeed I got this scheduling consulting call email in my Gmail. So obviously this is just an example, and in a real world scenario, you would replace all of the information in a prompt with your real company details, so you wouldn't leave them blank. And you would also obviously adjust this agency for your own unique process. And in fact, this is what we're gonna do in this video. We're going to build something practical and something that you would actually use. So I personally had this idea for a very long time where I want to create a content marketing agency that will help me to generate content for my YouTube channel consisting of 3 agents. The first agent is going to be the content manager who will generate scripts and create content ideas with the O1 model. Then there's going to be a trend analyzer agent who will fetch the latest news, extract keywords from these news and also analyze these keywords. And finally, there's going to be a YouTube analyzer agent who will have access to all my data on YouTube, and it will analyze my channel demographics, analyze my video performance, analyze competitors and sentiment on comments for each video. So the goal of this agency is going to be to help me create new and engaging content. So now let's proceed with actually building this. So as I said, this tutorial is going to be for complete beginners. So the only thing that I'm not going to show you in this video is how to install Python, because you can easily find tutorials on this yourself. Everything else I will walk you through step by step from scratch, including setting up cursor, including how to use the special cursor rules file that you see on the screen, all of the cursor features and when to use them, and so on. So feel free to skip ahead if you already know all of that. I'll leave a link to the file down below. It's going to be on our Agency Swarm GitHub. So all you need to do is just go to our Agency Swarm GitHub, copy this cursor rules file, and then drop it into your project. So if you find it helpful, just give us a star, because there's no email required and it's completely free. So the first step is going to be to create our repository. So I definitely recommend you guys create a repository. Do not just, code in a random folder on your computer, because if you have a repo, it allows you to keep track of your changes. So for example, if you run into any issues in the future, you can always roll back. Additionally, it allows you to collaborate with others. So for example, you can then share this repo with someone else and you can work on it together. So I'm going to name my repository Content Creation Agency, and then I'm also going to set it to private. Additionally, don't forget to include the Python gitignore file. Alright, awesome. So now click Create Repository, and this will create a repository on your GitHub. So then the next step is to simply clone it locally. If you already have GitHub Desktop installed, then simply copy this link and open GitHub Desktop. If you don't have GitHub Desktop, then just make sure to install that first. So let's go ahead, let's open the GitHub Desktop, and then here just click on Add and Clone Repository. And then under URL, select your folder, enter your Git address, and then click Clone. So just like this, now we have access to this repo on GitHub. So now the next step is to download Cursor. So go to cursor.com and simply hit download. Here I also recommend that you enable usage-based billing in settings, because this will unlock the O1 preview model for you. O1 preview model is significantly more costly. So as you can see, I spent around $8 on that model this month. However, I think it's well worth the cost, because honestly, there were some challenges that I had no idea how to solve, and all other models struggled as well. But then I would just ask O1 preview model once and it would literally solve it in 5 seconds, when I think it would have taken me like a few days. So make sure to enable this model, and I'll show you how to work with this model if we run into any complex challenges later. Okay, now that you downloaded Cursor, the next step is to open our folder. So simply open new window in Cursor, which will look something like this, and then navigate into the folder that you just copied from GitHub. So click open, and now we are almost ready to go. So we just have to do 2 more steps. The first step, as I said, is to download the cursor rules file. So go to Agency Swarm GitHub and click download raw file. Then go back to Cursor and copy this file from your downloads. However, keep in mind that if you download it from GitHub, it's initially going to have the txt extension. So just make sure to remove that. Make sure to rename the file. It should be named .cursorrules without any extensions at all. So just like this, now the cursor will recognize this file anytime you are working on this repository. It will read all of these instructions automatically, and then it will have all of the context it needs to know about Agency Swarm framework. I honestly spent hours writing this file myself, so if you're curious about how my framework works, also make sure to check it out and read through it. Alright, so now the final step is to create a Python virtual environment. So simply click Command-Shift-P, and this will open the most commonly used settings in VS Code. And then here, select Python Select Interpreter on top, and then click Create Virtual Environment. So then you can select venv or conda if you have conda installed, and then select the interpreter of your choice. So this will create a virtual environment, and this means that now you are ready to start coding. So yeah, that's basically it for setup. However, if you want to become an ultimate power user, then don't skip the next section, because sure, AI can already write all of the code for you. However, it also means that AI can write code for anyone else. So if you really want to stand out as an engineer, and 10 years from now, you just need to know how to use your AI better than anyone else. And shortcuts will help you to increase your productivity significantly. So I'm going to open my Agency Swarm codebase, which is pretty large and should serve as a pretty good example. And let's start with the first shortcut, which is Command-Option-B. So Command-Option-B opens the chat window on the right, and it's like basically chatting with ChatGPT. However, it also has the context about your current file. And if you want cursor to have context about your entire code base, what you can also do is you can hold Command when hitting enter, and this will perform RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, on all your files. Okay, next up we have the edit feature. So to open this edit window, you need to click Command K or Ctrl K on Windows, and this will allow you to modify your code inline. So for example, you can say, change this to a for loop. So I recommend using chat for more general architectural decisions and edit for quick changes when you know exactly what the change entails. However, the primary feature that we're going to be using in this video is Cursor Composer. So you can either click Command I to open it in a smaller window, or you can click Command Shift I to open it in a full screen. If you don't have Composer, just make sure to go to Features and enable it right here. So what sets the Composer apart from chat is that it can create multiple files simultaneously. So rather than just suggesting changes one at a time, Composer can create and modify multiple files. It can place them into multiple folders simultaneously in parallel. So I recommend using Composer when you are trying to implement any new features. So now let's actually proceed to creating my content agency. So let's open the Composer and then let me enter my prompt. So as you can see, my prompt is quite long. I definitely recommend you spend as much time as possible on this first initial prompt because it will allow you to save a lot of time later. So my prompt is as follows. Please create a content agency with 3 agents. The content manager can generate ideas using OpenAI's O1 preview model. And then I'm also including the link to the documentation. Then I'm describing the process for the content manager agent. I'm also describing the trend analyzer agent and each tool. So for example, I want to search web with Tavily API, which is a simple API for performing searches with large language models. And additionally, I'm describing the YouTube analyzer agent and including my channel ID. So that's, basically it. Just make sure to describe the process, the tools, the APIs that your agents need to use, and then you should be good to go. So let's hit submit. And this will start Composer. So let's wait until it creates all of the files and then I'll show you how to go from there. So all of the files seem to be correct, except it didn't generate the requirements.txt file. So all I'm going to do is just tell it to also add the requirements. Also, one more quick tip is that you can add your own rules for AI under the cursor settings right here. I, for example, like to add the think step-by-step prompt. But if you're just getting started, I recommend adding something like I'm a complete beginner, explain all the code you generate in simple terms, something like this. So this is the general process that you should follow for creating AI agents. So the first step is to adjust tools, then you need to adjust agents and instructions, and finally you need to test and then iterate. So just keep in mind that AI agent development is a very iterative process, so you need to constantly test and iterate on your system, and this is the only way to fine-tune your AI agent team. So I'm going to start from the trend analyzer agent, and let's first go with the Tavily search tool. So this tool looks pretty good. So let me just run this, and also don't forget to add your API keys in the .env file. So just click new file right here and then name it .env and then add your key like this. So let's test the Tavily search tool again and see if it works. All right, so yeah, as you can see, the Tavily search tool works out of the box, no changes required. So that's already one tool less that we need to modify. So now let's try the Analyze Trends tool. Okay, so as you can see, the Analyze Trends response failed with status 429. So if this happens to you, all you need to do is just select this error message and then simply hit Add to Composer. So you can click Command I, or you can just click this button and this will add the error message into Composer. And now you can say, please fix the Analyze Trends tool. So let's accept these changes and now test this tool again. So simply hit run Python file, that's all you need to do, and then see if it works. Seems like I'm hitting some rate limits with the Analyze Trends. So if this happens, just ask Cursor in chat what alternative APIs I can use to avoid the rate limit. So seems like there is a SEMrush API, there is a Moz API, there's Ahrefs API. So you can select any of this. If one API doesn't work for you, just replace it with some other API and get a new API key. Right, so I'm just gonna skip this tool because I don't think it's that important for this agency. But yeah, feel free to play with this yourself later. So let's now go to the next agent, which is the YouTube Analyzer agent. So let's proceed with the Analyze Competitors tool. So this tool takes some keywords to search for competitor channels. And then it also takes the max results, so the number of competitor channels to analyze. However, what I also want to add to this tool is the channel ID, because we also have the second tool, which is called Access Video Performance. And as you can see, it takes the channel ID. However, right now, the Analyze Competitors tool only returns the subscribers, total views, and total videos. So the agent wouldn't know the channel ID, which means that it wouldn't be able to use the second tool after this one. So what I'm gonna do here is just open Composer again, and then just tell it to also return the channel ID. And then I'm gonna also include the @ sign and select this file that I'm currently working on. So it's gonna be called Analyze Competitors. So you can select any files if you click @ sign like this, and you can even chat with web, which is super helpful. Amazing. And now let's test the last tool for the YouTube Trend Analyzer agent, which is the Evaluate Sentiment tool. So this tool also takes the video ID. So that's very nice that the agent can combine the outputs from one tool with the inputs from the other tool. However, I think it would also be beneficial for the agent to actually see the comments so it can get some feedback. So let's also modify this tool. So I'm actually going to tell it to return the top comments for each video in the Evaluate Sentiment tool. Okay, so now as you can see, this tool returns the top comments. Still, I haven't written a single line of code. This was super simple. All I did is literally told Cursor what to do, and it did all of the work for me. So the next step is to adjust the instructions. So what I'm gonna do is just send my idea for this process into the prompt and just ask Cursor to adjust it just like this in the chat. So first I want the agent to analyze my channel demographics. Then I wanted to analyze the video performance of my recent videos. So let's hit enter, and now it adjusts the process like this for me. So this also significantly speeds up the development because you don't have to write the instructions yourself. Okay, so now let me do this for the rest of the agents, and then we can test the system together. Actually, the instructions for the two other agents look pretty good. To be honest, I did not expect it to be so good. So let's just adjust the agency manifesto, and inside the agency manifesto, instead of the operating environment, I actually want to add some information about my YouTube channel. So this information should be shared across all agents because I think it's quite important for the agents to at least understand, what my channel is about, what are my goals, and so on. So what I've done here is I just basically asked ChatGPT, what do you know about me and my YouTube channel, because it has memory, so it knows quite a bit about myself. And then what I'm going to do is just copy this information and then also ask Cursor to add this instead of the operating environment. So that's basically it. All of the tools work straight out of the box except one tool, which is the Analyze Trends tool. And in fact, this tool didn't work because of an error. It didn't work because there's a rate limit on API requests on PyTrends. So again, if this happens, simply search for other APIs and do the same process over again. So provide the Cursor with API documentation and then just tell it to refactor this tool to use this other API. So I'm going to run the agency.py file now and send a simple prompt as a test, something like, please help me generate content ideas. So as you can see, Content Manager creates a plan that it will first ask the Trend Analyzer to analyze the latest news in 2024 related to OpenAI. We then get some topics back, and then the agent proceeds to extracting the keywords from those topics. Then we get those keywords for trending topics on AI in 2024. Right, very cool. So next, it tells the YouTube Analyzer agent to analyze the performance of my videos. So as you can see, then it analyzes all of my channel demographics, the top 10 videos. Then it proceeds to also analyzing the competitors. So it analyzed 2 competitor channels for now, and it also analyzes the performance and the comments on those channels. So as you can see, now we get a huge list of comments, which is a very valuable piece of information, honestly, and hopefully that's gonna help the Content Manager to now create some really high-performing content ideas. So the first one is 3 real businesses transformed by AI agents, success stories revealed. The AI agents for absolute beginners, building your first AI agent step by step. Also great one, actually. I think I'm gonna make one of these. Why structured outputs are disrupting AI, what you need to know. This is similar to what I've made before, but also could perform. Automate your business life, building an AI agent from concept to deployment. Also planning a video on that, but more specific. Top 5 AI agent development trends shaping 2024. Stay ahead of the curve. Okay, I mean, yeah, these topics are now actually really good because they're based on actual content gaps and the performance of my previous videos. So yeah, this is already extremely helpful. I think this is good for now, but of course you can also improve this agency even further. So just keep on iterating on it, just like I did. So adjust the tools, adjust instructions, then test it again, and then just repeat this process until you get it to the point where you are fully satisfied with the results. However, keep in mind that right now this agency is only available on your local machine. So if you want to make it instantly more valuable, you would probably want to integrate it into a channel that you use daily, like Slack. So I've posted a video on that before, so feel free to follow that tutorial, and this way you'll be able to chat with your agents directly from Slack, which instantly provides significantly more value. Alternatively, feel free to explore our SaaS solution based on my framework, where we will soon add a feature to import agents directly created with Agencii Swarm. So you'll be able to drop the settings.json file generated by my framework. We'll add like an import button here, and then it will instantly import all of your agents. Additionally, we also have a private community with exclusive courses, weekly Q&A calls with myself, and of course you can integrate your agents into many channels in just a few clicks, like custom GPTs, widgets, Slack, and so on. So I'll leave a link down below. I think we currently have around 100 spots left. And yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.